Hey, everybody, welcome to Inside the IDA podcast. My name is Barry Thiel, and today we've got a pretty great guest here. We got Nick Vacco, who is the original founder of Detail King, and now he spends his time mentoring, known as the Detail Czar. Before we get into talking about Nick and talking to him, I just want to throw a shout out to the Rag Company. I want to thank them over there for supporting the IDA and doing all the things that they do for us here. So, anyway, we've got Nick. So,
Hi,
Nick,
Barry.
tell us about yourself a little bit. I mean, I know a little bit about you, obviously. We got to know each other, a few years ago?
Few
I
years
guess
back,
about
sure.
three or 4 years ago. You invited me out to Detail King, and now I kind of fill your shoes there because you moved on and you're doing some great things. I'm
Thank
really
you.
excited to hear about it, and I just yeah, it's always great to see progression in an industry, and I know you've personally been around a very long time. I hate to say it that way, but we're all getting a little older. I'm
We are.
almost. I just turned 48 myself, and I remember everybody in this industry knew me when I was like in my early 20s.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's been great. So tell us, Nick, what all do you have going on? I mean, you're a guy that can't stop moving. You can't stop working. You're a lot like me. You're always hustling. You're always getting things done.
Yep.
What
Well,
goes on in the mind of Nick?
well,
What goes
first
on
of
in his
all,
head?
I'm honored to be here
Yeah,
today.
thank you.
The IDA has really done some great things, and it's an awesome organization. I think to give a better idea about Nick Vacco, I started detailing cars where I actually was making some money when I was 14 years old. The timeline now is 1974. I got about 20 years on you, Barry. I'm going to be 68 soon.
I wasn't even born yet.
I
I
know.
probably wasn't even thought of at that time. You know what I mean? I was born in '78. Man, that's crazy. Whew.
I was a sophomore in college. But so the way it started, my mom was a real estate agent, single parent, four mouths to feed, and she worked really hard. She worked practically 7 days a week, and she was pretty successful at it. At the time, she drove a big Buick Electra Limited. They called it a deuce and a quarter. It was just as big and just as nice as a Cadillac, only a couple $1,000s less.
Yep.
And it was a Sunday. She decided to take a day off of work, which was unusual, and she asked me to clean her car. I said, "Sure, I'll do it." And I'm usually out playing football or baseball with my buddies, and we didn't have any products or anything. So we ran up to the auto parts store and probably spent maybe $5, which is like $30 today, on the Zippy car wash soap, the Tough Stuff foam for the interior, bleach white, a white wall cleaner, bought a vinyl top cleaner, vinyl top wax, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Came back. This thing was it was a beautiful car. It was triple ruby red. Back then they had a lot of chrome, the rocker panels, the wire hubcaps, the hood ornament, the thick padded roof, the velour interior. I was on this thing all day, man. Washed it, waxed it, cleaned it, white walls, just the whole thing, inside and out. So late in the afternoon, I walked in the house to get my mom to show her what I did, and I kept looking back at it. I could not believe the results. The thing was gleaming. So what it did, I guess, it gave me a sense of accomplishment. She brought it to work the next day, and all her coworkers said, "Hey, Rose, why did you buy a new car the same color?" You know? And she explained what I did, and then I started detailing, and that term wasn't even used back in the 70s. If you wanted your car Simonized, you took it to the dealership, and for $50, they polished your car and wet dry vac the interior and armor all everything.
Yep.
So before you knew it, I was doing all her coworkers' cars on my driveway that summer. And they all drove big Buicks, Cadillacs, Olds 98s, Lincoln Town cars. So I was always the kid with money in his pocket, not because it was given to me, because I earned it. So I guess it gave me a sense of responsibility. Um, Now, again, this was back in the 70s. Back then, you had to go to college. And I was told from day one I was going to college, right? And there wasn't really a business model to be aware of for a detailing business. So I wanted to be a DJ. I wanted to be a DJ and a play-by-play sports announcer. There was a
Yeah,
great,
you actually, not to cut you off, but you worked with somebody pretty big in college.
yeah.
Have
Well,
you?
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, okay.
There was a great DJ in Pittsburgh. His radio name was Jeff Christie. This is back in the mid 70s, late 70s. So I was supposed to be up in my room, my bedroom, doing my homework at night. I was calling the radio station. I'd say, hey, Jeff, play this song for me, or hey, play that song for me. And then eventually I said, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to be a DJ. So I kept calling the radio station and talking to Jeff and begging him to let me sit in on one of his shows. So finally he gave up and he said, okay, have your mom drop you off, and you can sit in on one of my shows. So she dropped me off one night. He had the 6 to 10 shift right in downtown Pittsburgh, right on a major corner. So everybody could see the studio and him, and loved what I did, or loved watching the show. And he said, well, go to college, your mom wants you to go to college, become a radio broadcasting major. And when you graduate, bring me your demo tape and I'll see if I can get you an interview with the program manager. So 4 or 5 years later, I graduated college, called the radio station, had my demo tape, and asked for Jeff Christie. And the DJ that answered the phone said, Jeff got fired this week. And I said, really? Why? And he said, and there's a significance to this story. And he said, the boss said he was a bum and he was never going to amount to anything. And so I basically, back then you needed to know somebody in radio to get into radio. So I took a couple sales jobs outside, and I'll come back to that story. I took a couple sales jobs, and I was outside sales for an air freight company. And I'm on my lunch hour at Wendy's. Okay, I sat down to the only table that was open, and it had our local newspaper, and it was open to the business opportunity section. There was no internet back then. There weren't any cell phones back then. The timeline now is the mid 80s. My mother had just passed away, left all the kids $4,000 each. And basically the business opportunity section of the paper said, start your own detailing business. So when I got home that night, called the number, spoke to actually somebody, it was later in the day, and they were a local company. They offered the supplies and the support, really no training. So I found a little 2-bay shop, no running water, no heat. There was a creek in the back. That was our bathroom. Okay. There was a self-serve car wash across the street. That's where we put the quarters in. That's where we washed the vehicles. Mm-hmm. Brought them across the street. The landlord, we connected a hose to his faucet to fill up a 55-gallon drum with a pump on it. That's the water that we use for our interiors. But, it was very cavemanish. But after about 6 months, moved out of that location, got a 4-bay shop, put a lift in, did rust proofing, undercoating, and detailing for about the first 4 years. And then eventually aftermarket accessories started to get real popular. We added running boards, bed liners, bug deflectors, car phones came out. We were installing car phones, remote starters, remote alarms. Detailing was always my backbone though, because it's 100% gross profit. Yep. Back then you had a couple bucks in supplies and then the labor. And this is now back in the 80s and 90s, I turned it into a $50,000, $60,000 a month business. And most of that was the accessory installations. But anybody that came in, let's say they bought a brand new pickup truck and they wanted a set of running boards, or they wanted an alarm. We always talked about detailing. We always talked about our protection package, paint, sealant, fabric protection, rust proofing, undercoating. So detailing was my backbone. And then after about 13 years, when I saw the popularity of the start of the internet, I'm figuring, you know what? I can take everything I learned all these years, put them on the internet, and teach others. And that's how detailking.com was born, Barry. And, I tell my students, don't let people tell you you can't do it. I've been telling them this for years. That DJ that the boss fired and said he was a bum and he was never going to amount to anything, he went on to be the highest paid radio personality of all time up until his death about 5 years ago. Actually, it was 5 years ago, 2 days ago. His real name was Rush Limbaugh, the conservative talk host. and he was the guy that took me under his wing, and I learned a lot from that man. And so I tell my students, don't let people tell you can't do it. And then Detail King started actually in my bedroom. I was having everything drop shipped, everything.
Yeah.
Mighty extractors. I had a local company making my chemicals. And finally I was doing $100,000 a month sales out of my bedroom, dude. Okay. So I had to get a building, and that's I got a building, and I hired some associates, and I don't like to call them employees because I always look at my employees as kind of like my business partners.
Yep.
And that's where I met Jason, Bill, and Gary, and they came to work with me at Detail King, and we really turned it into one heck of an operation, and we added the training. So it was a great ride for over 20 years.
It's unbelievable how do I say this, the foundation that you built there.
Thank you.
It really is. Like it's impressive because I see it. I mean,
You're there, yeah.
Yeah, I'm out there once a month. I love everybody out there. The trainings are amazing. I to this day I still follow what you have. You know what I mean? Your course is the course. I'm humbled to be able to teach your course.
Well, you're doing a great job,
If
man.
that makes sense. I'm very humbled. Did I add a few things a little bit? Yeah.
Sure,
I
absolutely.
modernized it a little bit. The business is all the same, but there were a couple things we changed around a little. Nothing crazy.
Absolutely.
But it works, and the foundation that you built, I'm a part of today, if that makes sense. Which is kind of crazy.
And I'm proud to have you.
Yeah, it's really it's something special, and that's why when the podcast came through and I saw your name, I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta grab Nick. Because I remember when we first met. You took me out to eat at that restaurant, the Hibachi.
Promise. That's where I met Jason. Actually, he used to park my cars like when he was in college because he lived close.
Yeah, and it was like we talked and we got to know each other, and it was amazing how I feel our stories are kind of similar, a little different, but like I started in '93. I was 15 years old. My first job, I went in and you'll remember these days, and the younger guys won't understand this, but back at that time we painted the wheel wells black.
Yep.
To hide everything. The exhaust tips got painted in silver alumina was the color. And we had this white Toyota Tercel come through. Very first job I ever took. Part-time after school. And we had this white Toyota Tercel come through. And the wheel wells were horrible. They were all cleaned and greased, and
sure.
The pressure washer guy took a little bit of the paint off. So as we did this, it was like the second car I was working on, and I was told to paint the inner side of the wheel wells. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right.
So I grabbed the can of white because the Toyota was white,
Uh-huh.
and it was bleached white, literally, with Comet before they buffed it, which is another old school trick that these guys won't know today. But I'll never forget it. I sprayed the wheel well white, and I sprayed the back wheel well white. And we took the car outside to double check it. And the lady came in. Her name was Steph. She ran the business. And she says, she looks at me and she goes, I don't think you're going to make it in this industry. And I said, why? Like the car looked great. And she said, well, you have no attention to detail. She goes, you painted the wheel wells white. And we paint them all black here.
Uh-huh.
And she fired me for it.
Oh, geez.
So I walked down the street and I went to another detail shop in Manheim. And I told him the story. I said, I was new. I'm just trying to learn. And he goes, listen, I got a job for you. I'm going to teach you how to wet sand. And what I consider to be my first real full-time job, even though it was part-time, was I was the guy that handled all the fresh paint that came back from a body shop. And all I had to do was sand the edges, remove the dirt nibs, try to match the texture, and then just cut it with a wool pad. Somebody else finished it out for me.
Great learning experience.
Yeah. So I started right away. They threw me in and I got into it. But when I just look back on it, our stories are kind of similar. How we both progressed, started young, went to a detail shop, and now we're both in education, training, and sales. At
Very
the end
much
of the
so.
day.
Very much
Um,
so.
yeah, and it was, I'll never forget that night that we had dinner there with the at the hibachi place. It was like one of the first times I got to really know you, if that makes sense. Even though I spent a day with you, it
Sure.
was nice to actually get to know somebody who has been around a very long time in this industry. One of the, I mean, I don't want you to feel bad, but one of the older guys that
Yeah.
started, which is really cool. You're up there with a select few individuals, and a lot of people don't really know you because you're kind of quiet on the internet a little bit,
Right.
if that makes sense. So
That's changing, by the way.
yeah, I see that. I see that. And so you built Detail King, and it got sold to Jason and Gary and Bill, who are all amazing individuals. Obviously, they were there from the beginning.
Well, that's what
And
I
then-
want. I don't want to. Let me interrupt you just for a
yeah,
minute. You
yeah,
know, because I think it's important to give those guys credit. Okay, they helped me build that business, and that's what I want to portray to other entrepreneurs. You can't do it yourself.
correct,
You
correct,
can't do it yourself. You got to hire the right people and put them in the right positions. Okay.
correct. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. And that's where you can be extremely successful. In the beginning, okay, I was doing all the sales, all the marketing, I was packing the orders, doing all the follow ups, doing the Google pay-per-click ads, just doing it all, man. And I wouldn't get to sleep till 11, 12 o'clock at night. But, I made it successful. But the time came for me to hire, associates, okay, and put them into some of the positions that to take over that what I was doing. And that's why I've been successful. Even with my detailing business that I started in '86, it was called King of the Road Auto Appearance Center. Okay, I hired a great guy, a couple years younger than me, by the name of Greg, and Greg was my general manager of King of the Road. And then eventually, we bought a limousine to take our customers back. It was an old caddy limousine. We bought the limousine to take our customer home or to the mall. We'd give them a pager, and we'd page them 30 minutes before their vehicle was going to be done.
I remember the paging system.
Yeah. We had a retired gentleman that drove the limo. He would pick them up, and it was very impressive. Okay. And then eventually that led into a limousine company. Okay. Elite Coach Limousine. When Detail King really started to get very successful, I actually sold my half of the limo. Greg, the guy that I hired to help me get King of the Road started, we became partners with Elite Coach Limousine. And now today, Elite Coach Limousine is the largest transportation company in the city of Pittsburgh.
It's
And
huge.
it just started with one limo. Yeah.
I
He
see it
doesn't have,
all the time when I'm out there.
oh,
All
it's,
the time.
yeah, yeah. And that was my startup. And again, I couldn't have done it, without Greg. And now he's taken it to the next level. But I can't impress enough how important it is to have good people that you hire. Okay, put them in the right spots. That's the way to grow and scale. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I agree because I'm very blessed to have some really good business partners. I really
Absolutely.
am. I got Scott with SB3, who is just crushing it. He never detailed until he met me. He was my first employee, became a business partner. And then with Bar Jack, now I'm partners with Keith
With
Duplessis,
Keith. Yep. Good
and
man.
it just what a great individual. It's like I surrounded myself with the right people,
That's what you got to do.
and now I'm finally starting to kind of see some rewards of that, if that makes sense. Not financially. I mean, financially, yeah, but I
Sure.
look at rewards differently. I like personal freedom, is
Yep.
what I like.
Absolutely.
I live in an area where I don't need to make millions. But for me, it was always, if I want to do something, I want to go do it. You
Sure.
know, I'm living my life on my life's terms with God behind me, thankfully. And it works. But it's just unbelievable when I hear stories like yours, and then I get to meet the person and watch them grow. And now you're on to the next phase, which is I'd love to hear about this.
Yeah,
So
well,
now,
when Jason, Bill, and Gary, a few years after they acquired DetailKing.com from me, I gave them the opportunity if they wanted to acquire the school,
yeah,
which they did back in mid 2022. My goal was to open up a high-end detailing business in Southern California, because I had a condo out there for several years. That's actually where I would go to write a lot of my content for the website for DetailKing.com. Okay. I had a deck overlooked the Pacific Ocean. Okay. Brought my laptop out there, and that's where I did a lot of my work. And so when I came back after a week or 10 days every month back to Detail King, okay, I was recharged. I was ready to rock and roll. And I saw a need out there for a first class type mobile detailing business. So we started Detail King Express. A young entrepreneur came to one of the Detail King seminars from Northern California, and we kept in communication after the class, and eventually him and I became business partners of Detail King Express, the mobile detailing business in Southern California. Basically, we started in Orange County. And a couple of years after that, Zach's skill set started to really get good. And he says, "Hey, Nick, can we open up a shop?" He says, "I want to start doing window tinting, PPF, more ceramic coatings." So we did. And the shop's in San Clemente. And Zach does $40,000, $50,000 a month in ceramic coatings, window tinting, paint protection film. He doesn't do as much detailing anymore. Of course, he provides paint correction if he's going to do a ceramic coating. So I started Detail King Express here in Pittsburgh, in a suburb of Pittsburgh called Irwin, where we do auto detailing, ceramic coatings, not doing the tin or PPF yet, but I also morphed into a more of a mentoring coaching with the Detail Czar, where I have individuals that'll come in for the weekend, and I mentor them, I coach them, I help them get into the industry. And I mentor them even after they leave for their 3-day weekend. And many of them have gone on to be super, super successful.
yeah, and that's what I like is I know a lot of your former students, and they're all successful.
Yep.
They're all successful, and it's funny because like when I first started helping out at Detail King, everybody like people around me are like, "Barry, I graduated from Detail King. Tell Nick I said hi."
Yeah.
Like like they came out of the woodworks, man. It
Yeah.
was crazy, you know. I
Yeah.
didn't realize how many people went through Detail King and
Thousands.
thousands. And the crazy part too is I'm not sure how you guys did it over there, but it was one of the only two schools in the country
Yeah.
that
There was,
education. Like, can you explain that a little bit?
yeah. I started training back in 1999, just maybe 3 or 4 classes a year. And then back in 2007, we were approached by the Pennsylvania Department of Education. And they says, "You guys really need to think about becoming a private licensed technical seminar school." So uh, myself and one of my mentors at the time, Paul Angel, we went to Harrisburg, where the PA Department of Education is located. We went there for an entire day just to learn how to fill out the application. And
Wow.
it was a very lengthy application. And thank God for my sister. She had actually worked at one of the local colleges, and she had to leave. She got diagnosed with MS. She's doing good, and she helped us put the program together, the curriculum, the forms, the applications. It took actually 6 months to put everything together. And then Paul and myself went up there. They only offer this a couple times a year, where you go up in front of the board and you have to present your program. We got approved on the very first time, which is rare. And the timeline now is 2008. So we became a private licensed technical training school, which, it definitely helps just reemphasize your credentials, that the program was so good that the state actually approved it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that was
and it is. I mean, to this day, it's still there. You
yep,
know, still, it was nice because I was like, I remember walking in to do my first class, and it was all I had to do was just follow your guidelines.
yep,
It
yeah.
was already done for me. I just had to talk on what I knew about it. It was pretty amazing to just walk in and kind of like, how do you say, like, almost like pass the torch, kind of. That
That's
makes
exactly what. Yep.
but it works, man, and I'm thankful to be a part of just Detail King in general, plus what you built. Very few people have that type of success that you've had in this industry. And I,
Thank you.
I was one of them. I think that my success came from hard, just like you said, hard work and the right people. Just
Yeah.
never giving up. Basically.
Absolutely, and I'm glad someone like yourself, Barry, and you actually, got involved with Detail King because I worked really hard to build that program. Both DetailKing.com and the school, and having somebody like yourself actually pass the torch to teach. I mean, that's wonderful. I sleep better at night
Oh, thank
knowing that you're there.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
I'll tell you, man, the guys, the team that you built, you can see. When I look at Jason, he's so professional, and Billy, so professional. Gary, they're all professional out there. It's just you could see your legacy. Put it that way.
thank you. I mean,
Does
that
that make sense?
Gary's been associated with Detail King when they acquired it. Gary was the warehouse manager between the location that he worked at and dropship for me, and at Detail King for 20 years. Bill 14 years, Jason 13 years. I mean, that's unheard of these days. Employees, as I call them, associates, staying with you that long. So I
Yeah,
must be doing something right.
yeah. No, I think it's just the atmosphere. You build a good culture, and that culture spreads itself.
Critical,
It's contagious to see it. It really is. It's happiness
critical.
is
Yeah.
contagious.
And just some points I'd like to make. Again, besides hiring the right people and putting them in the right positions, I think it's critical, especially for these younger entrepreneurs, because many more younger entrepreneurs are getting into this rather than going to college. I don't think you have to go to college these days. I think keeping educated and informed with both marketing and your hands-on skill set is so important today. You got to keep educated, especially with all the opportunity that's available through online, and of course, AI is important too. But I just don't want business owners to lose that personal touch. I think AI is important for productivity, absolutely. Okay, but you don't want to lose the personal touch with your prospects or your customers. Okay, I just think that's critical.
No, I agree with you. I really do. I know. When I launched SB3, it was not easy. To give up something you love to chase something that you hope is going to work, if that makes sense. Um, but luckily, I when we launched it, I hired people around me to do the things I couldn't do,
Right.
if that makes
Yes.
sense. And to this day, I still answer the phone call and ask for SB3.
Yep.
People, the 800 number comes directly to me, and I always tell the guys, call me. I'm here. This is my job. I'm here to help you. I have people in place to do everything else. My job is to answer the phone.
And
That's it.
that's why you're still very successful.
You know, I just never. There was a store that I grew up in. I mean, around growing up. The guy who owned it, his name was Rick Smith. It was called Rick's Newsstand. Literally 2 doors down from my house. My dad at like 6 years old would send me down there with like $3. He'd tell me to get 2 packs of Winston's, grab myself a candy bar. And I came back with that, with like $3. I came back with 2 packs of cigarettes at 6 years old, and they would sell them to me. But the owner of the place, his name was Rick. He was always there. It was his baby. He had employees, but he was
He's
always there.
always there.
And when you walked in that door, the very first thing he did was shake your hand and say, "How can I help you?"
So
And
important.
he did that from the time I was 6 to the time he sold that company, or well, closed out. And that would have probably been, man, 2000,
Sure.
so 25 years of
25 years,
the
man.
owner just shaking a hand and saying hi. That's
So
all it
so
took.
important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a personal touch, and I really, really enjoyed that. And I to this day I try to always make sure I'm personable, if that means anything.
Oh, you are, and absolutely, because when the owner loses that personal touch with his prospects and customers, okay, that's where the business starts to go in the opposite direction, and I think that's so important, and networking too. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I tell my students and the individuals that I mentor and coach these days. You gotta network, especially on a local level with local business owners. Okay, even joining a networking group like BNI, so you can
correct.
rub elbows. Okay, with other people that are running service oriented businesses and other businesses in your town. Okay, that's just such an easy way to get your brand, get your name out there.
So
Okay.
easy, so easy. It's like I'm a part of a few organizations, and all of them have paid off some way or another.
Yeah,
That way, if that makes sense.
you have to. And
Yeah,
then, some other tips I'd like to leave with,
always.
is, keeping your social media platforms updated. Okay. And what we do at my detailing business, okay, the customers that want to, okay, and most of them do, we'll do a live testimonial as they're picking up their vehicle, walking them around. I'll record them walking around the vehicle, showing them the work that we did, the paint, the interior, the engine, doing a hydrophobic, pouring the water on the hood and having it just run off, show them the hydrophobic properties of the ceramic coating. That works. That works. We put them on our website, we put them on our social media, and other people in the town see that and they'll say, "Hey, I know that guy." You know, it's you have to use the tools that you have, and there's nothing better. Okay, there's nothing better than a customer actually telling the rest of the community, the rest of the world, depending on the business that you have, on how good your work is. It's so critical, and I don't see a lot of that going on today. Okay, you got to do that. I believe.
I 100% agree. It's all about an experience at the end of the day. The customer gets to see the before and after, but what do you do after that? And I was always big on the experience too. I was always the guy that you always left with a bottle of soap, a quick detailer,
Same with
uh,
us.
a business card, on the back of my business card. This was before QR codes and,
Yep.
all the Google links and everything. It was just a business card. But on the back of every business card, it always said the highest compliment you could give me is to refer me to your friends and family. Thank you. And I used to get them cards back all the time, you know, all the time. And then the biggest thing that I did that was really rewarding for my company was every retail customer that came through my door. A week later, I sat down and I mailed them a postcard.
I did the same thing.
And it just said, "Hey, I wanted to thank you. We're here if you need anything, give us a call." But what it did was people, I think, in today's world, I brought this up before where we with social media, everything's instant, if that makes sense. Everything is instant. And I feel like we lost our personal touch.
I agree.
And what that did for me was it goes back to the Christmas card thing. Growing up in the 80s, I couldn't wait for Christmas cards to come
Yeah.
because they always had money in them if they
Yeah.
had my name on it,
Yeah.
Now I don't even get Christmas cards anymore.
Right. I
I
got
get a
one
text.
last year.
Yeah, I get a text that says Merry Christmas. Like, okay, thank you. You sent that to 500 people. I appreciate you thinking about me. But the reality of it is, it was a personal touch that people forgot. It was something in their hands that they could feel, they could see. They knew I took an extra moment of my time to say thank you. That's all it was. but it paid off so much because on postcards, it was always laying around, on the table. They never threw them away because it had a 20% discount for the next service. So they wouldn't throw it away because it was saving them 20% sometime in the future.
Such a great idea.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it worked, and they got that personal touch. And what's crazy is, Nick, we are 35 minutes into this recording already. It went fast. And I try to keep them right around 40 minutes so our users don't get bored.
Sure.
If that makes sense, and we talk forever. So if there is, and I ask anybody this, I always say, hey, tell us whatever, however we could reach you, tell us how we could reach you. But more importantly, there are people out there listening to this, looking for help, looking for advice, looking for something, if that makes sense. And I try to make an impact with every podcast that I do. And I always try to offer that, the guest to give one good piece of advice that you would throw out there to somebody who new to business, starting business, are they in business for 6 months? What would Nick Vacco say that could change their life? What is that, Nick?
Yeah.
Not to put you on the spot.
Don't give up, because you're going to run through challenges every day.
Yep.
Okay. It's not getting depressed, okay, over those challenges or if things go wrong. It's how you react to them, okay, and how you grow upon it. This is a great industry, okay? Yeah. The way you got to look at it, every car, every vehicle on the road in your area is a potential client. And the way we look at it, and the way I've always taught, you just don't want to look at a client for maybe a $250 or $300 detail one time. You have to look at what that client is worth to you for a lifetime. Okay.
I agree.
From that $300 detail, they just financed the car maybe 7 or 8 years. Okay. That customer is going to be worth somewhere between maybe $2,000 and $10,000, depending on what services you're providing. Plus, besides the repeat business, you get the referral business. And that's one thing that I teach on how to get a strong referral program. It's so critical. And just some other advice that I would recommend is, if you have a website, okay, and I have someone that I can refer people to, that he's doing an audit of my website right now, okay, is actually how to make sure that your website, okay, is coded so the GPTs find you, because that's where it's going. ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Grok. That's how you're going to be found. Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree, because I had a international customer find me through ChatGPT, which is absolutely crazy. But no, I agree with you that AI is the future, 100%. I use it daily. I mean, I'm addicted to ChatGPT right now. Now I'm at the point where I'm creating videos. I've got I even have it set up now where I have a AI model of myself, so I can tell it to do whatever, and it looks like I'm talking, I'm saying the words, and it'll be interesting to see how I play with that next. But
you're absolutely right, and I have my own GPT for detailzar.com and my own GPT for Detail King Express. So when they go to my websites, right on the homepage, it'll say, hey, visit our GPT if you'd like to know more about our services or my consulting or my coaching. And it works out really well, because basically what it does, it establishes your business as the leader in your industry, because you're just so far ahead of the competition.
Yeah. No, man, this is Nick. Listen, it's been a wonderful having you on the show. It really has been, man.
I appreciate it.
I was looking forward to this one. I really was.
Thank you for the opportunity, man.
Anyway, we're going to end it here. I just want to give a shout out to everybody listening. I hope you learned something, gathered something, just a little bit that may affect your life in a positive, in a positive manner. Again, my name is Barry Thiel. We're going to sign out from Inside the IDA podcast. And Nick, thank you so much. How can our guys find you if they want to get in touch with you?
Nick at thedetailzar.com, and Czar is spelled CZAR, or they can just go to my website, thedetailzar.com, and contact me that way.
All right. So if you're looking to get a hold of Nick, thedetailzar.com, and it's Nick at detailzar.com, not
Yep.
not
Thedetailzar.com. Yeah.
no detailzar.com.
Yeah, there you go.
Detailzar.com.
Thanks, Barry. My pleasure, brother.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Take care.